In early 2024, thousands of pages of court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were released, triggering an immediate, massive wave of viral internet headlines. Almost overnight, social media filled with theories that these unsealed files were a hidden ledger, a smoking gun that would finally expose a global criminal syndicate. But looking at these actual court records tells a different story. What we see here are stacks of dense legal paperwork, heavily redacted and incredibly complex to navigate. The subject of all this paperwork is Jeffrey Epstein, a wealthy financier who cultivated an image of high society influence while committing horrific abuses. This leaves us with a critical question. Do these viral files actually prove a hidden conspiracy, or do they simply map the broad social network that surrounded a convicted abuser? As unverified lists of blurred names trended online, public demands for mass arrests collided with the cautious warnings coming from legal experts and journalists. That caution stems from a strict legal reality. Appearing in a court document does not mean a person committed a crime. To accurately understand what happened here, we must look past the internet frenzy and rigorously examine what these legal records contain and what they don't. The phrase Epstein Files implies a single, coherent list of names. The reality is that these records are a fragmented collection of civil lawsuits, sworn depositions, and address books released over several years. A significant portion of these unsealed records comes specifically from civil litigation involving Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Those documents were largely forced into the public eye by lawsuits filed by Virginia Giuffre, a victim who spent years fighting for transparency. Because these records were generated for specific civil disputes, they serve as highly contextual legal tools. They were never designed to be a definitive catalog of criminal co-conspirators. The records contain hundreds of names. However, there are many reasons a person might be legally documented in a civil lawsuit that have nothing to do with illegal behavior. They range from victims and witnesses to household staff, financial investigators, and casual acquaintances. We can see this confusion with physical evidence. This flight logbook tracks passengers, and online it's frequently cited as absolute proof of guilt. Legally, it only documents transportation between 2 points. It cannot verify what actions took place on board. The justice system requires verifiable evidence of a specific crime to secure a conviction, while the internet often convicts based purely on who stood next to whom. While Epstein's wealth often dominates the headlines, his true mechanism of power, and his ability to evade the law, was his elite access. He methodically embedded himself into high society spheres across politics, scientific research, and academia, cultivating an aura of absolute legitimacy. Surrounding himself with highly influential figures acted as a camouflage shield. It made him look trustworthy and rendered him seemingly untouchable to authorities for years. What the files actually reveal is a topographical map of a predator who weaponized social prestige to operate in plain sight. When the highly anticipated documents dropped in 2024, the public reaction quickly turned to disappointment, as few dramatic new criminal revelations materialized. Much of the information labeled new online had actually been unearthed years earlier by investigative journalists who scrutinized his controversial 2008 plea deal. The deeper mystery exposed by these records is how legal systems and powerful institutions completely failed to act on glaring warning signs for over a decade. Many of these systemic failures will remain unresolved. When Epstein died inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center in 2019, it guaranteed there would never be a full criminal trial to answer those lingering questions. The gap between what the public expected and the legal reality of the files highlights how society often fixates on sensationalism rather than examining the complex institutional structures that protected an abuser. While some records do remain sealed, the facts we currently have rely heavily on the persistence of independent reporting rather than proactive government transparency. The fallout from this case has forced modern institutions to adjust how they handle allegations involving vulnerable victims and well-connected individuals. In an era of instant digital reactions, true accountability demands patience and critical thinking. Extraordinary claims will always require extraordinary evidence, and falling into the trap of viral outrage distracts from that rigorous process. True justice is built on the slow, meticulous gathering of verified facts. In the end, hard evidence carries far more power than internet speculation.